All right, let's dive into a really fascinating historical thought experiment. It's a what if that goes back 500 years and asks a question that could honestly change everything.
I mean, really think about that for a second. What if the entire Protestant Reformation, this movement that completely reshaped the Western world, was built on a slightly different foundation? What if they'd picked a different book to be their cornerstone?
Okay, so here's the deal. The Protestant reformers, guys like Martin Luther and John Calvin, they famously built their whole theology on the books of Romans and Galatians. But what if they hadn't? What if they had instead chosen the book of Ephesians as their main guide? The argument is that the history of the church, and maybe the whole world, would look radically different today. Now, to really get why this one little switch would be so huge, we have to try and get inside the heads of people living back in the 16th century. What was the one question that kept them up at night? This was it. This was the question. It wasn't some abstract theological debate. This was a deep, personal, and frankly, terrifying anxiety. For the average person, the whole idea of salvation it felt totally out of their control. The system back then seemed almost designed to make you anxious. It was this maze of endless religious duties, complicated rules, and even if you did everything right, the best you could probably hope for was a long, painful stay in purgatory before, maybe, finally getting into heaven. It was complicated, it was scary, and it felt impossible.
So you can see why the reformers zeroed in on this concept they called justification. For them, this was the answer to that huge, scary question. It was all about how an individual gets their legal status fixed with God. It was about securing your own personal ticket to get out of this sinful world and into heaven, hopefully skipping that whole purgatory mess altogether. But here's where it gets interesting. The book of Ephesians, it paints a completely different picture. It's not really focused on that same question. It offers a totally different vision for what this whole salvation thing is even about. Let's dig into that. Ephesians brings two massive, world-altering ideas to the table that are just different from the Reformers' focus. And the first one? It completely reframes the entire goal of faith. And it's this. Salvation isn't about escaping the world. It's about God renewing the entire cosmos. It's not a lifeboat to get a few souls off of a sinking ship. It's a full-blown restoration project for all of creation. I mean, just look at the scale of this vision. The language here is huge. The whole cosmos, everything in heaven and on earth. This is not about getting an individual person to some far-off place called heaven. This is about heaven and earth finally being brought back together as one. And this chart just lays it out perfectly, right? The goal shifts completely from an individual escape plan to a universal renewal project. The destination isn't somewhere else. It's right here, but made new. Okay, so that's a gigantic shift in thinking right there, from personal escape to cosmic renewal. And the second big idea in Ephesians, it flows right out of that, and it's just as revolutionary. It completely redefines the whole purpose of the church. Think about it. If God's big plan is to unite all things, then the church's main job, its central mission, is to be a little working model of that future reality right now. Its purpose is to show a divided world what unity actually looks like. And we're not just talking about being nice to each other. This meant actively tearing down the most fundamental social, ethnic, and cultural walls of the ancient world. The church was supposed to be this living, breathing, and, let's be honest, probably shocking example of a new unified humanity. So now we can really see the two paths taking shape. One path, from Romans and Galatians, is all about answering that question of personal anxiety. The other, from Ephesians, is about answering a question of cosmic purpose. This table just brings it all home. On the one hand, the Reformers' view, the key question is personal. How do I get to heaven? Salvation is about being rescued from the world, and the church is basically a collection of those rescued individuals. But with the Ephesians' view, the question is cosmic. How do heaven and earth come together? Salvation is the renewal of everything in the world, and the church? It becomes a working prototype of that new reality. And this quote just nails it. The ultimate prize, the inheritance, isn't a place called heaven. It's the whole entire redeemed creation. That changes, pretty much everything. Okay, so this is a really cool historical debate, a big theological what if. But so what? Why should a 500-year-old idea matter to us right now? Because these two visions, they lead to totally different ways of living your life. I mean, is the whole point of faith just to secure your spot in the afterlife and then kind of wait? Or is the point to actually get your hands dirty, to participate in the work of renewing and healing the world, of bringing a little bit of heaven down to earth, right here and right now? This shapes how you think about everything, from social justice to caring for the planet to building real community.
And that's really the question we're left with, isn't it? What you believe about the ultimate goal, the end game, it totally changes your mission today. Is life a waiting room for heaven, or is it a workshop for building a new creation? Answering that doesn't just determine what you believe, it determines what you do. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for watching.